Hi, this is Bruce Linton from the Father's Forum with a Minute in Fatherhood, and this is part two of You and Your Dad. And I guess I talked a little bit how you were not your father in part one, and in this part I'm going to talk a little bit about how to build a bridge to your father. And this is difficult, and I'll be honest with you, it's about a 50-50 deal. The men that I've worked with over the years, about half of them have felt like, hey, they've been able to work on this and make a real connection with their dad. And the other half have had to say, I reached out, I tried, it didn't really happen. And that's a profound disappointment. But I think it's worth the try, and I'll talk a little bit about the disappointment and how to hold that in your heart. So to start with, I think it's always good to look at your father's life from his perspective. How old was he when you were born? What kind of work did he do? How did your father feel about work? How did he feel about his relationship with your mom? What was his life like at that time? And I think that may give you some perspective that, he's just a man trying to figure out what to do. And then that's part one. Now part two, step two, the next thing is, if you can talk with your dad, either in person or on the phone, ask him questions about his life. What was it like with his parents? How did his dad treat him? I think if you show an interest in your father, I think you'll get both an interesting perspective on how he grew up, what his life was like, so you'll understand some of the ways he may act or be in the world that will be helpful to understanding what your relationship is like with him. And of course, I think every person's interested when somebody is interested in them. So that's the second part. The third part is to try to build a bridge over to him, by having these conversations and asking about his life and seeing, does he build a bridge back? Does he ask your perspective? Does he ask about your life? And when you ask for things that you need, can he respond to you? I'd like to talk more with you, Dad. I'd like to share this, or I have a different opinion. Can he support your opinion and understand it? And I'm saying it's 50-50, so if he can't, it's very disappointing. And then you find out, what do I do? My dad doesn't build a bridge back. I've talked with him about his life. I've kind of got a perspective on how he struggled in his own family, and I've tried talking with him, and he doesn't seem to be able to connect back with me. And I think at that case you have to accept disappointment, profound disappointment, and realize that, everybody's trying the best they can, and this is maybe the best that he can do. Sometimes you'll get a little different dialogue, but I want to just bring out one last point. When I had asked my father when he was in his late 70s about not spending much time with us and why did he think it was that way, and he had a very interesting comment. He said, when I grew up in the Depression, I was so afraid of not having a job, not having money. I just felt I had to work all the time. And he said, I could see I didn't need to do that now, but at the time when me and my brother and sisters were growing up, I felt that was so important. So again, a whole absence in my life was not because he didn't want to be with me. It was part of his own psychology that he felt if he wasn't working, he just wouldn't survive, really. And then he felt like he did give us everything that he always wanted that he never had. A nice house, clean clothes, food to eat, and a chance for a good education. So I see in his own way he was reaching out to me, and it was difficult for me to understand. Okay, well, that's a little bit about some possibilities of connecting with your dad. Thanks for stopping by again. It's been a Minute in Fatherhood with me, Bruce Linton, from the Father's Forum. Bye-bye.